Hello, welcome to September 12th, 2022. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation. This is a video that I make each and every morning to describe my Good Life creed, which is 7 objectives and 32 principles. These are things that I use to help me to get through life. It's my human operating system. And I also use this time to think about how I did yesterday and to plan for tomorrow. First, last night and yesterday. I woke, another good night. I forgot my melatonin last night, but I slept until just before the alarm. 45 minutes. I woke up just a bit, 45 minutes, and I had to go to the bathroom, so that's why I had to get up. But then the alarm woke me up. So maybe I'm breaking out of that long habit of insomnia. That'd be great. Yesterday was a tough day. Miko and I were looking at houses. We went to, first we drove, it was a long drive, a lot of driving. Drove to Fullerton to see our daughter, and we dropped off some food for her and did some things. And then we went to Harbor City to look at a place we liked, kind of, and then we didn't. And then we went to San Pedro to see a place that we liked, kind of, and then we didn't. And then we drove around and looked on the outside of some places. And then we came back to Fullerton to look at a senior citizen place that we kind of liked. Anyway, it was an exhausting day. I'm exhausted right now as a result. So, and Yumiko is too. But we did a lot. We got a lot done. I wish I'd had a day of rest, though. So what is it that we didn't like about the places? Well, the first place, the one in Harbor City, as cute as it was, it would have been better suited for us in our 20s, just starting out. Too small, just not quite it. And I got overly excited and kind of jumped the gun. I should have waited. Note to self, I know this, I know better. I just got excited. And I was like, yeah, this is the one. And then afterwards I was talking to Yumiko and like, no, that's not the one. So I kind of let the owner that I know that I think we were going to go for it, but I think we're going to have to change our mind on that one. Wish I had exercised a little more temperance in my excitement. It was a good price. Good location. Area where I had once grown up, so. The owner was just a kid. So young. Wow, what would that be like to be locked into an empire at an early age? I guess that's my perspective, right? They would probably see it as being made free by empire, and they would be right. So, because they could build a little empire, and then that gives them the freedom. They don't have to do the workaday thing that I do. Yeah, that's a freedom. I almost went down that route when we had all our money. I almost decided maybe we should take all this money, invest it in property, and buy a bunch of properties in the Ojai Ventura area. What would my life have been if that had been the case? We wouldn't have gone to Japan. It's funny, I was just reading the Dr. Johnson Rambler number 9 on that very topic. I literally just before reading this, and he was talking about how he basically says right here at the opening line, he says, "It is justly remarked by Horace that howsoever every man may complain occasionally of the hardship of his condition, he is seldom willing to change it for any other." Yeah. So even though I wouldn't change it, the course that I took for any other, even if it could be enjoy freedom through being a land baron. Huh. What a very different life that would have been. I wonder if I would have gotten through that restlessness. Well, it was more than restlessness. It was a driving thing. I mean, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was driven by a need for something. I thought it was adventure. It was quite a pain in the butt. Threatened my marriage several times. If I had indulged myself in it, I probably would have wound up going alone into the world in earnest and finding myself quite ruined by that process. So yeah, maybe it's Dr. Johnson. Maybe it's because we can't imagine any other prospect having worked out. Anyway, I'm way distracted. So the first place was that. The second place was just kind of, wow, cute little house, great area. But the floor plan was just, we couldn't see how that floor plan could work. And it just had kind of a grimy feel to the place. Not dirty, just old and lived in. It felt like an old tenement. It wasn't. It was an old building, probably from the 20s. Old, craftsman style house. Cute yard, nice little garden area. Would have been a nice garden in the back. Not the right place though. And then the other places we looked at, we just drove past, were not good. And then the senior place still looked good, but I was a little. I told Yumiko as we went over to look at the senior place that maybe the senior place would be nice because we can get away from all the madness of young people. But then I saw the place and I saw some of the residents walking around, and I was remembered of this neighborhood, which is full of seniors who have nothing to do, who haven't. I mean, there's a resignation of seniors in like a retirement home where they go to die or they go to convalesce, and death is their mortality is on their mind. They kind of resign themselves to it. And then there's a kind of not all, but to a greater degree. That was my experience working in such a place. And then there's what I saw yesterday, and what's in this neighborhood, which are seniors who have not yet reached that point, but whose careers and families their careers are over, their child rearing days are done. They have the fruits of their success with their home and their money and their security, but they no longer have the physical well-being or or maybe even the ability or inclination. Yet they still have the longing hope to make something unique of their life, and the consequential sense of seeming disappointment and frustration that comes with that whole entire combination. I saw that in spades yesterday at this retirement community. We couldn't even go inside. It was closed. The leasing office was closed and the gates were closed, but there were people milling around. And I could read the room. And I was like, it's kind of spooky. But at the same time, it's very, very liberating, right? I mean, it's like spending time in the antechamber of the executioner's office. Can you imagine that? An executioner's office. Next! It's not even that. It's not even the antechamber. The antechamber of the executioner's office is the retirement home. It's milling around out front that I saw yesterday, hoping for a reprieve. I would like to live there, just to experience that for a couple of years. Although once Emily leaves us, she can't come live there with us because it's a senior place. When Yumiko goes off to Japan, and finishes college, Emily and I would need to move. Yeah. Anyway, that was yesterday. I'm exhausted as a result today, but I can do this. I'm ready for the day. Let's do the good life. I'm going to do the lightning round, I think, to a greater or lesser degree. 7 objectives. 1, to be always ready to die, to have my life affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in order. Scratchy throat. 2, to make good and effective use of my time, so that I'm being thrifty and careful with my life. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. That's exactly these 7 and 32 that I'm working on now. 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become a man who reacts well to life, and especially to the challenges. And I do, and I think I reacted well to just about everything yesterday. Except I shouldn't have jumped the gun with that first house. I should have waited and simply said in a more mature and sedate manner, "Thank you for the tour. We'll get back to you." And then talk to my wife in the car. Next is the cultivation or the performance of good actions, just doing good things, picking up trash, holding the door, saying thank you, the plea. Oh. Next is the recognition of true limits and true opportunities. And then to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Now I have 32 principles. War, to fight against what I think is true. Reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. Wasn't there another one? Honesty, objectivity, and doubt. I thought I added a fourth, or finally remembered a fourth. Humiliation, there is a fourth. I better use the book to help me. Honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation, right? Honest, being an honest man. Objective, skeptical, and ready to enjoy the humiliation of discovering that I'm wrong, especially on something that I've been holding for a long time. Love the chance to be liberated from deep water. Oh boy. I like that. Let's remember that. After reason is the homunculus, the reminder that I don't have a soul, but I do have a little consciousness. And then the Anchorhold, a reminder that my consciousness is alone and will die alone, and is stuck. suffering and weathering life. And then the home of good and evil, reminder that right and wrong are subjective biases, basically, regarding what we think is helpful and not helpful. Objective in terms of its influence relative to the world, but subjective in opinion. And then the principle of purpose. My 3 purpose are to be a good husband and father, a virtuous man, where virtue is defined as working towards the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures, and then to pursue my mission, which in this case is the sharing of my good life creed via my story, Going Alone. And then the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, flowing and changing and forever transforming. And the sub-principles of dissolution and emergence. Basically, falling apart and coming back, but never coming back as the same thing. As Heraclitus says here, all things change to fire, and fire exhausted falls back into things. Amazing observation of how energy and matter can be transitional. Well, I guess matter is just a frozen form of energy, right? Then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature. And the sub-principles of composition and inertia. The nature of things are always, what are they composed of, and what is their inertia? How are they moving? How are they propelling forward? And then the pirate ride. Free will seems to be an illusion. A very convincing one, but nevertheless. Then the principle of maturity and the sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. We are wise when we are mature when we remember our past successes and failures and have the strength to do better, and enjoy the integrity of our reflection and resolution forward. Then the social principle. We are social creatures. We need each other. And the sub-principles of diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Diplomacy, because diplomatic efforts are social efforts, trying to find compromise and move means forward as a group. Justice is important for the well-being of society, and then conspiracy is what happens when we work together, conspiring towards better ends. And then public speaking, and the sub-principles of small words, prudence, rumor, and gossip. Using carefully chosen words, deliberate words, well-formed sentences, not trading in rumor nor gossip. And temperance, and the sub-principles of suffering, simplicity, and apathy. Well, apathy really belongs with the recognition of true limits and true opportunity, but we'll apply it here too. So we suffer when we deny ourselves what we want, and a simple life is a temperate life. As Anthony the Great says, keep your tongue in your belly under control. Next comes the principle, life will not go well. Things are going to be rough. Like I had a rough day yesterday. That's just the way it is. And we push on until we've had enough. We can't push on anymore. And then the horror show. Really, really, really bad things happen. And this is where I take Epictetus's moment to think about some really bad things and remind myself of what I would think. And yesterday I talked about some really bad stuff. I gave an anecdote in the Epictetus's corner about, not an anecdote, I made it up. It was just a story that I made up. I was trying to imagine Yumiko and I driving to Fullerton to visit our daughter and then off to look at houses and getting having the car break down or something happening, getting in an accident or something happening, and winding up Yumiko and I winding up off the side of the freeway, the car crashing, catching on fire, and I get hurtled out of the car, and Yumiko burns up inside the car. It was a horrible thought. I mean, just total fiction that I made up, which is part of what I do in Epictetus's corner, is to imagine the worst, the worst, the worst. And it actually had an impact on me. I was driving on I think it was the 60 freeway, and I was driving along, and it was where I normally would have simply had a kind of a lackluster demeanor, just thinking about nothing, listening to music on the radio, thinking about nothing. I was instead in pretty good spirits, thinking, damn, looks like we haven't run off the cliff and no fires today. Strange. It lifted my spirits. So, a little strange dividend from that exercise. So let's do it again. What could happen today? Today I could go into work and they could pull me aside and say, Kurt, it's been, what has it been? 10 months. 10 months. It's been pretty good. We appreciate that you came back and worked with us, but we don't need your services anymore. The guard here, we do have security guards at work, is going to escort you out the door, and I could lose my job. That would be bad. Wow, that doesn't really strike like yesterday. Yesterday was a really bad one. It really slapped me in the face. But I hesitate to go there. How many times can you go to that level of stuff? So I'll just leave it at that. Now, the Epictetus part is to ask myself, was I immune from this? Why did I think I could do otherwise? So why do I think that I could possibly, how did I get the idea that I could keep my job forever, that I wouldn't get laid off? Isn't that what that's for? And so what? What's the worst that could happen? I might starve. So then my family might starve. So then we depart from life. Epictetus's perspective on that matter, because that was what would lead to happen. Back in his time in ancient Greece, people would starve in the streets, and then you're dead. Or I'll find a way. I'll get a job. Maybe worst could happen is I can't support my family. We can't stay here. We wind up living on the streets and homeless and starving to death. Excuse me. So what? So it sounds terrible, but in a relative sense, who did I think that I was one that could somehow not starve to death or be homeless on the streets? I don't know. I did a so-so job on this one. I like this idea, this Epictetus's moment, but it's a little bit, I need practice at it. And I have it. I'll do it every day. Okay, the next principle is that which must be borne. What we have to bear is the fact that life will not go well. We have to bear the fact of the potential horror show, or the fact of the horror show going on all around us. And the sub-principle here is hand on the tiller. Being out in the cockpit of the sailing ship in the storm, keeping it straight, heading for that break in the clouds up there in the distance where we can see a little sunlight. Next is the Feast of Offal, which is what happens when we get upset and throw our upset into the world. I call it the banquet of our suffering. And then the principle of distraction. We distract ourselves with all the things in life that we have, so that we can see, so that we don't have to see a universe without God, so that we don't have to think that we're alone and responsible for ourselves. Because it's much easier to think that someone's just looking after us, isn't it? Well, not for me. I gave up that. I gave up that illusion when I was 16. Then comes agency and the great indifference. That's the thing that we're trying to avoid looking at, is the great indifference, the emptiness of the universe. Agency just refers to what is counter to that, which is the circumstance of life. Whatever is alive is an agent, and whatever it creates is an artifact of agency. And when we see other agents, like a green lush forest or an anthill or our fellow human beings or our family gathered for a Thanksgiving feast, that gives us comfort. And we can forget about the emptiness of the universe, the fact that most of the universe is without agent, is indifferent. It's not even indifferent, it's incapable of indifference. It's beyond indifference, beyond indifference. That's even better. Okay, then comes the best seat in the house, to not want to be anyone else, be anyone else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing. The restless man. It's that thing inside of us, particularly for menfolk, that says, go out, have an adventure, explore, find something. It was that need was satiated when we were hunter-gatherers by the fact that we could go out every day with our spear in hand and go run around looking for game and go where we wanted, so to speak, within reason. We can't do that really much anymore. We have to go to the office and sit in a cube. So we're restless. Men more than women, I think. I think it's in our nature. That leads us onto what I call the Path of Wildness, which is an off-ramp into a new life, into an adventure of sorts, that can lead to what I call the graded life adventure, which is the next principle here. Great life adventure is one or more experiences that becomes the centerpiece of our lives. If you don't have it and you're a restless man or woman, watch out, because that's not going to go away, and you're likely going to be haunted by that all your life. Then comes the risk of avoiding risk. There's the surface level risks of life and the deep risk. The surface level stuff is the stuff that everybody encourages us to do. Go to school, get a job, find a spouse, start a family, buy a house, and save for retirement. The deep risk is spending a little time to find oneself. Again, if you don't do the finding, if you feel a quest to do that and don't do it, you're going to pay a price later. You're going to be one of those old people milling around the 55 plus community, wondering what they can do at this late date. It's too late, probably. I mean, maybe it's not for you, but by and large, the evidence appears to be that that's the case. Do it when you're young. Then comes sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my world. These are falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, and gossip. These relate to being untrue, believing things that are possibly untrue, and gossiping, talking about other people behind their back. I try not to do any of those things because they are sins and they lead to damnation in the here and now. Sin typically means against a God. These are just sins against well-being. Then comes complete oblivion. That's the next principle. When we die, there's going to be no afterlife. We won't be around anymore. That means we can't see our loved ones again. No final reunion. If we can't have a final reunion, then we can't have a chance to reconcile any differences. No final reconciliation. And if we're not around, there can't be any, and there's no God to dispense justice. There'll be no final justice. So seek after those things in the here and now while we have the chance. And then there comes the season of philosophy, which is a time to record what we've learned along the way. Keep pen and paper handy. The bullseye aim, shooting for the mark but usually missing. The uphill climb, keeping, like I'm going to do today. I really don't want to go forward, but I'm going to trudge upwards. And then arena and utility. Life is an arena for the battle of the exercise of trying to live a better life. And these principles, or whatever principles we have, are our tools. And they're like utilities that hang on the utility belts. Pull them up as we need them. Then 2 more. Nothing is enough. A reminder, a suggestion towards less. And then finally, the principle of fun. The suggestion that we should try to have fun now. Enjoy life, because that is one of the chief ends in life, is to have a happy, fun existence. not at the expense of others or the environment unduly, or or the expense of our values. And then also to enjoy thinking about the future to come, and then remembering the past. Ta-da! I got through my Good Life Creed. That was somehow easier as I read my way through it. Nice. It feels like I'm doing better on time somehow. Is it only 5:05? Do I trust that clock? Is the battery going slow? The battery might be going slow. I think it's later. It's later than it seems. All right, that's it. Oh, and what am I going to do now? I'm going to stop, upload the video, read the Bible, feed the dogs, walk the dogs, change my clothes, get to work. Have a good day. In terms of challenges today, just the challenge that I'm tired and I don't want to work today. I would like to have another day off, but I won't get a day off. Instead, I'll get a good day of work. I have to contact those 2 realtors, let them know thank you, but no thank yous on those houses, and we'll move forward. Thank you so much for your time. Take care. Be safe, but not too safe.